It's the same thing. When Biden does it, when Kamala does it, Pelosi does it, no different than what Ted Cruz is doing here. It's the same exact thing. You want to know why it's no different? Because they do nothing. They do nothing. You have power. Oh, we just need one more vote. Next election cycle, 2024, once we have the House and we have the Senate and we have the presidency like we had during the Obama era, then we'll make actual change. It's not like gun violence is a new phenomenon. There was mass shooting events that happened when Obama was president in 2009 and 2012, right? When we had all three aspects of government. And guess what Obama did to stop this mess? Nothing. Now, granted, it was only 200 mass shootings then, right? It wasn't, 650, but still, that's insane. Also, I don't care about what the Constitution says. I stand by it. I stand by it. I stand by it. I do not care what the Constitution says. Don't care, not one bit. I don't give two flying flips what the Constitution has to say. And I'll tell you why I don't care. I don't give two flying flips what the Constitution has to say. Why? Because my rights weren't even in it in the beginning. I don't care what the Constitution has to say. I definitely don't care about everything the Constitution had to say before my rights were added, right? All 12 amendments before my rights were added, First Amendment, Second Amendment, I don't care. Because my rights came number 13, you feel me? We need a 28th Amendment that burns the Constitution. That's what my thing is. It didn't even like poor white men. No, it didn't. It didn't. You wanna know why the Constitution doesn't protect you in the way you think it does? Because these old senile make sure that it doesn't. The Constitution only protects you in and as far as these old white people and white adjacent people allow it to. They can convene tomorrow and decide that the First Amendment doesn't apply to poor white people anymore. That the First Amendment only applies to white people who own land and own property.
They say that I'm good enough, grabbing my da-da-da. Think about shit that I shouldn't,
Steinhoist became a follower.
Steinhoist thinking for the follow. You know what I mean? That is a thing that these people can do, and they're there forever, and they're mostly conservative. But again, for that, I blame Obama. Thanks, Obama.
Thanks, Obama.
If Obama pressured RGB to step down before she died, he could have appointed a Supreme Court justice. And if Obama would have appointed a person when, Scalia died? It didn't wait for Trump to do it. We would have had two justices, and we would have the majority in the Supreme Court, we as in liberals. So it's not only Obama's fault directly for why Roe v. Wade isn't codified, because he said he would do it. I'm gonna play the clip again.
Well, the first thing I'd do as president is sign the Freedom of Choice Act. That's the first thing that Now, the Freedom of Choice Act is not my highest legislative priority.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. So not only could Obama, as he said on the campaign trail, what a liar, what a measly little liar, dude, on the campaign trail in 2007, say he would sign the Freedom of Choice Act to codify Roe v. Wade. Not only did he not do that, and then in 2009 saying the Freedom of Choice Act is not his highest legislative priority, like he has any other job but signing freaking legislation. What else are you doing? You have no other job but to pass laws. You're the president of the United States. Not only did he not do that, but he also didn't pressure RGB to step down before she died in office, when Trump was in office, or when Scalia died. We could have had two justices, and then the Supreme Court could have ensured or enshrined Roe v. Wade. You feel me? Protected it. But he didn't. That's what I'm saying. They're doing it on purpose. They are doing it on purpose. 100% they're doing it on purpose. Dems love losing. No, Dems love pretending like they're losing, because they're not losing, bro. They're making bank from lobbyists. Shout out to the OG girl boss, Dianne Feinstein. Oh, don't get me started on Dianne Feinstein, bro. Literally being wheeled into Congress. My queen, my empress, Feinstein. She's back and looking fantastic. These are people representing you, chat. These are the people representing you. They rolling corpses around. Yes, It's like that. I remember I saw a picture. These are people representing us, and people are mad. One of them has a spine. True. What? At least this person has a spine. Just see that video where Dianne Feinstein was telling a bunch of children who were like, please, Miss Feinstein, please do something about climate change. We're gonna die when we get older, please. And she was like, listen here, kiddies. I've been in Congress for 117 years. I know what I'm doing. Okay, here it is. Chat, are you ready for this? She can stand? No, chat. This is 5 years ago. Don't worry, chat. She's only 85 years old during this video. Only 85 years old. But keep in mind, his quality is also terrible. But this is a representative, again, in California, keep that in mind. When kids are just like, please, Miss Feinstein, please give us a crumb of renewable energy. We don't want to die in a fiery hellscape of the earth when we're like 12. You feel me? And this is her response. They said, we're trying to ask you to vote yes on the Green New Deal.
We are trying to ask you to vote yes on the Green New Deal.
Okay.
Please, Miss Feinstein, please.
Green New Deal.
Okay, I'll tell you what. We have our own Green New Deal.
Some scientists have said that we have 12 years to turn this around.
Well, it's not going to get turned around in 10 years. What we can do
Senator, if
is
this
put
doesn't get turned
ourselves-
around in 10 years, you're looking at the faces of the people who are going to be living with these
Guess what?
consequences.
The government is supposed to be for the people and by the people and all
You know
for the
what's
people.
interesting about this group is I've been doing this for 30 years. I know what I'm doing. You come in here and you say it has to be my way or the highway. I don't respond to that. I've gotten elected. I just ran. I was elected by almost 1 million vote plurality. And I know what I'm
She couldn't say majority because it wasn't a majority, it was a plurality.
doing. So, maybe people should listen a little bit.
I hear what you're saying, but we're the people.
You can't make this up. You cannot make this up, chat. Please. Please. Like, oh my, this is an elected representative. And the kids are like, please, Miss Feinstein, please. We're asking for just a crumb of the Green New Deal. Just a crumb of climate change spending, please. He's like, listen here, kiddos. You're coming in here and you're trying to tell me how I'm supposed to do my job. You're like, well, we are your constituents. You can't even vote yet, children. You're saying it has to be my way or the highway, and I don't respond to that. And they're like, Feinstein, like Miss Senator Feinstein, like these are children who are dealing with the consequences of what you're saying. And she's like, nope, I don't want to hear it. La 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 la.
People who voted you, you're supposed to listen to us. That's your
How old are you?
job.
How old
I'm
are you?
16. I
Well,
can't
you didn't vote for me.
She said it. I was joking. I was making a joke. She actually said. No. What? You can't vote. So what you say doesn't matter. It's not pre-watch. Apparently, it's not like you have to live with the consequences of my actions or my inaction. You can't even vote. You didn't vote for me. So I don't care what you have to say. Oh, she's so stupid and old and stupid. She's gonna be dead by the time they're able to vote. She doesn't care. She's right. She's right. This is a Democrat, chat. Just remember this. Next time people say vote blue no matter who. This is who they're saying to vote for. This is a Democrat.
I'm 24.
It doesn't
I
matter. We're the ones
Well,
getting
your words mean
impacted.
something.
Speak, kid. You better spit. She's spitting, chat. She's spitting, chat.
It doesn't matter. We're gonna be the ones who are impacted.
I understand that. I have 7 grandchildren.
I have 7 grandchildren, and I want them all to die in a fiery hellscape of the burning of rainforests. Like, I'm not gonna be around, but I want to know when I'm on my deathbed that my grandchildren aren't that far behind me.
I understand it very well.
Senator, the cost of
And-
not taking this action is far higher than the cost of what the Green New Deal will be. And there
Here's
is
what-
enormous popularity for this bill around the
Okay.
whole country.
Here's
And we're
what
asking you to
we
be
are
brave
proposing.
and do this for us and for your grandchildren.
Get enough for everyone. I'm trying to do the best I can, which was to write a responsible resolution.
Any plan that doesn't
has-
take bold,
Okay.
transformative action is not going to be what we need.
Well, you know better than I do. So I think one day you should run for the Senate.
Great.
Oh my freaking bro, chat. This person is still in Congress, right? 85 years old at this point, right? Going on 90, this person is still in Congress. I don't know. It's just, the DNC sucks. Like, so much garbage, dog. So much garbage. And chat, side note, never trust a single TikToker, a single Twitter influencer who rides for the DNC. They exist. They're there. Trust not a single one of them, because I can guarantee they're paid thousands of dollars to ride for the DNC. What compels people to keep voting for these idiots even though they keep doing this is really never a right thing? Well, Dolph, to answer your question, it's the DNC. The DNC is what guides who gets to run where. The DNC gets to dictate who gets to run where. And if the DNC does not have your backing, they will dump millions of dollars across the nation into anti-progressive candidates, which is how Chantel Brown won over Nina Turner. Chantel Brown, currently representative in Ohio, who ran against Nina Turner, who was progressive. The only reason why Nina Turner lost to Chantel Brown is because the DNC propped up Chantel Brown, because the DNC hates Nina Turner, because the DNC hates progressives. That's it. The DNC decides who wins and who loses. And any progressive that does win, and this is also why Jessica Cisneros lost to old dude, what's his name? Cuellar. Henry Cuellar. The reason why Jessica Cisneros, shout out to Jessica Cisneros, lost to Henry Cuellar is because Henry Cuellar was propped up by guess who? The DNC. There are innumerable cases of this happening. And one time where it didn't happen, where it turned out well in Chicago, the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson versus a moderate, what's his name? Paul Vallis, a moderate liberal propped up by the DNC, and Brandon Johnson was able to squeak out a win with 51%. But the DNC directly guides, for the most part, in 90% of progressive elections, the DNC directly guides who wins. Meanwhile, they just sit on Oppo Research and let George Santos win 100%. They're like, yeah, we did Oppo Research on George Santos, but we didn't do anything with it. I said all that to say, the only reason why people like Feinstein, keep winning is because the DNC wants her to win, right? It's the same reason why Schumer and Biden weren't pushing for Feinstein to step down so that they can actually push some judges through. The only reason why they weren't doing that is because they like Feinstein and her do-nothing attitude for getting nothing done. This is the take, chat. The DNC is just the mafia. Boy, if you don't... DNC is just the mafia. It's a whole bunch of, you scratch my back, I'll scratch your backs, you know what I mean? Quid pro quo, you do this thing for me, we'll make sure you get this position, you feel me? And if they don't like you, Like they didn't like Kyrsten Sinema for obvious reasons, for good reasons. Kyrsten Sinema wasn't playing ball, wasn't allowing them to push through their even controlled opposition legislation. Sinema didn't have the backing that Manchin has, being in a relatively conservative stronghold like West Virginia that Manchin had. She was in Arizona. So the DNC was like, if you're not gonna play ball with our legislation, which isn't good legislation, mind you, we're going to go a different way. Which is why you see Kyrsten Sinema rebranding herself as an independent that, like, you know, oh, both parties kind of suck. You feel me? The reason Kyrsten Sinema did that is because she wasn't playing ball with the DNC, and the DNC wasn't going to back her in the next election. And that's how the DNC operates. She wanted to be the main character so bad. 100%, Mango. She wanted to be the main character so bad. She wanted to have the notoriety that Manchin has, but she doesn't have the lobbyist money that Manchin has from his family's coal mining business. She's not in a conservative stronghold. So if the DNC doesn't back Manchin and Manchin leaves and flips Republican, there's no guarantee that they'll be able to get somebody to run against Manchin in the future. She didn't have that sort of backing. She's in freaking Arizona. They can pick any old, you know, middle-aged white lady off the street and be like, here, you're running against Manchin. Here's $1 million in, you know, campaign funding or advertising against Kyrsten Sinema, and she's out immediately. Towards Bernie Sanders, exactly. But Bernie Sanders is popular. Kyrsten Sinema is not popular. Bernie Sanders can win in Vermont because Vermont loves Bernie Sanders. You feel me? Nobody likes Kyrsten Sinema. She doesn't have that sort of backing. These people walking around like that because they have plot protection. Because they do. Yes, they do. They have protection. If the DNC says, hey, you're good. Hey, you're good. Yo, we got you. You feel me? You're good. You're going to win. And that's exactly what happened to Bernie Sanders. Not even just 2016. Because yes, it happened in 2016 as well. But if you wanted like even a better example of seeing this happen, it's the 2020 primary, Super Tuesday. What they did to Bernie Sanders for the primary. Bernie Sanders was in the lead in 2020 primary. The polls show that he would have won against Trump. Keep this in mind, right? If Bernie Sanders got the Democratic primary over Hillary Clinton, the DNC, who was all vote blue no matter who for Hillary, would have been radio silent for Bernie. Keep that in mind. The DNC, who was all vote blue no matter who, we gotta beat Trump, we gotta beat Trump. When Hillary was the candidate, would have been radio silent if Bernie Sanders won the nomination. Because that's how the DNC operate. But the Dems would have done anything to stop Bernie from running because they hate Trump, but they hate Bernie as well. Which is why you still hear rhetoric, people talking about Bernie had no chance to win against Trump. Only Biden had a chance to win against Trump. Which also makes no sense because not only have the Republicans not won the popular vote in a decade, but what happened to vote blue no matter who? If Bernie won the nomination and Bernie lost to Trump, then we wouldn't have been vote bluing no matter whoing. You feel me? That means somebody wasn't doing their part. So what you're implicitly saying, liberals, when you're saying that Bernie would have lost against Trump, what you're saying is that you wouldn't have voted for Bernie in the election. My tweet says, democracy-loving liberals when people want to exercise their right to vote in a primary. So what this is about is people saying that there's no need for a Democratic primary. There's no need for a primary. All a primary is gonna do is turn people against Biden, because guess what? Biden sucks. It's always vote blue no matter who until a progressive is on the ballot, right? That's what I said. We're gonna watch this video. And trigger warning for liberal brain rot, because that's what this is. The Democratic Party doesn't need democracy as her message. 100%. We're gonna watch this. Trigger warning, liberal brain rot.
Listen, Democrats, can we please stop talking about primarying Joe Biden? Who should run against Joe Biden? Will Democrats get behind Joe Biden? This many Democrats want an alternative to Joe Biden. Can we just not? The absolute last thing democracy needs right now is a Democratic primary. We're in late stage capitalism with a corrupt Supreme Court on a knife's edge between autocracy and democracy, and people want to spend $100 million to undermine our successful incumbent when the alternative is the twice impeached criminal ex-president or the man who is single-handedly turning Florida into a fascist dictatorship? Why? I know people are excited for fresh young leaders with bright new ideas, but those fresh young leaders will never get a chance if we don't protect democracy now. The fact is, Joe Biden has gotten more accomplished in 2 years than any president in the history of presidents. In an increasingly cynical world, Joe Biden is a decent man with an incredible staff who knows what he's doing and has thoughtful plans for the future of this country that include women's rights and gay rights and workers' rights and voters' rights and higher minimum wage and lower healthcare costs and environmental protections. It could be argued that the biggest reason democracy is winning in this David and Goliath story in Ukraine is because Joe Biden had the foreign policy experience and humility to gather world leaders together and build a coalition to support them. He can run on all of that. We don't need to replace him. We need to spend our time and money giving him a bigger majority in Congress so he can get even more accomplished. Yeah, he's old. He talks old. He's a goofy grandpa who says things like malarkey. Who cares? By every measurable metric, he's an excellent leader. If we didn't have lying propaganda networks and self-serving chaos agents constantly trying to sell us on the idea that he's some demented evil pedophile out to ruin the country, and you just looked at the facts of his presidency on paper, there would be zero debate he was doing a bang-up job. You don't spend $100 million undermining your own party to defeat someone who's doing a bang-up job. You run your successful sitting president, and you spend the resources you would have spent on a primary building the infrastructure that will defeat your opposition. You know, the party who wants to take your vote and force you to have a baby and tell you what you can read and what you can teach and what you can know. The people passing laws to tell people how to dress and how to act and what they can do with their own bodies. The party calling for a national divorce and suggesting that maybe Democrats shouldn't get to vote at all. The party that wants to get rid of everything from Social Security to public schools, who have already passed laws to strip women of their rights and make trans people detransition and force private companies to toe their policy line. You don't give those people the gift of fighting amongst yourselves. You spend your time and money working to put down that fascist, authoritarian, white Christian nationalist uprising taking over half the country. Joe Biden is better than any alternative the Republicans could put up. So if you want to win, how you feel about him is irrelevant. We don't need a new presidential candidate in 2024. We need to keep the Senate and flip the House. We need to fill the states with AGs who believe in the rule of law and legislators who believe in democracy. We need to pay attention to our school boards. Our current president is successful and he can win. We need to pick our battles right now. And a Democratic primary, it just isn't one of them. Sorry, not sorry.
You know what? Maybe Republicans are right. Maybe liberals shouldn't get the right to vote. Maybe liberals should not get the right to vote. You know what? It's over. It's so over, bro. It's so over. It's so Jover, dog. It's so Jover, dog. Oh my goodness. What she is saying, you know, loving democracy. We have to save democracy by not letting democracy happen. If Joe Biden is so good, if Joe Biden does such a bang up job, run the primary. You're gonna cheat anyway, like you cheated last primary. Run the primary though. This is an absolutely insane sentence. Tell me I'm crazy, chat. Tell me that this one sentence is not the biggest oxymoron you've ever heard before. She said this with full sincerity. Is democracy to these people just the general election? In the general, the Republicans can only win if they cheat. And the same thing with the Democrats. In the primaries, the liberals, the DNC, can only win if they cheat, because that's what they did. Guys, we can't waste time voting. Democracy is at risk. Exactly. Perfect take. Democracy is at risk. Also, keep in mind, liberal TikToker, Twitter influencer, I'm not saying I know for sure. I'm not saying I know for sure. But what I do know for sure is that the DNC pays TikTokers and Twitter influencers. So I'm not saying this person, I'm not saying she's paid by the DNC to make this type of content. But what I am saying is that the DNC pays people to make this type of content, generally. Every election cycle, democracy is at risk. We can't, and then this is how they use it, right? Democracy is at risk is a liberal talking point in order to stomp out any progressive or leftist running for office. I didn't feel the Bernie stuff with Biden. It did happen. It happened. Bernie had the lion's share of, I feel like they run together. That was 2016. No. That was 2020. I remember it happened in 2020 as well. Leading up to Super Tuesday, Bernie was killing the results. And it got to the point where like the DNC was kind of scared that Bernie might actually win the primary. Their opposition that they were running on Bernie Sanders wasn't working. So here's what they did. They went up to Buttigieg and was like, yo, Buttigieg, listen. There's no chance you're winning this primary, dog. But if you drop out and support our candidate, we can do something for you. Wink, wink, you feel me? And Buttigieg was like, bet. Buttigieg drops out, endorses Biden. Klobuchar, hey, how you doing? Listen, there's no way you're winning this. But if you scratch our back, we will scratch yours. Wink, wink. Klobuchar drops out. They're like, Kamala, come here. You already know what we're going to say. You're not winning this primary. But I heard that future president Joe Biden is looking to maybe hire a black woman as VP. So if you do the thing, we can do the thing, you feel me? Kamala drops out, endorses Joe Biden. Now all that's left is Bernie Sanders, who's still in first place, Elizabeth Warren, who's still in second place, and Joe Biden, who's now moved up to third place because everybody else has dropped out. Does the DNC go to Elizabeth Warren and do the same thing that they did for Kamala, do the same thing that they did for Buttigieg, and do the same thing that they did for Klobuchar? No. And does Elizabeth Warren see what goes on there with the DNC and think, okay, there's no way I'm winning this, but I'm a progressive. I want a progressive to win. I'm gonna drop out and send all of my voters to Bernie so that he wins, because he's also progressive, right? Does she do that? No, she does not. She does not do that. What does she do? She stays in. She stays in specifically to split the progressive vote between herself and Bernie. And then after that, Obama comes out and endorses Biden to get that black vote for Biden. And then you see ads about how Bernie is the enemy of black people and how Bernie doesn't care about black people and how Bernie is racist, paid for by guess who? The DNC, to scoop up the black vote for Biden. That's what happens on Super Tuesday. Remember that there was a whole fake story about Bernie being misogynistic? 100%. I remember that. There was so much oppo done on Bernie, bro. They said Bernie was racist. They said Bernie was anti-Semitic. They said Bernie was misogynistic. They said Bernie was sexist. They said Bernie was homophobic. They said every which way, everything about Bernie, right? Specifically to prop up the candidate that they wanted to win, and that was Biden. And that's what the DNC does. By total votes, after the first three primaries, Bernie was first, Pete was second, Amy was third, Snake was fourth, and Biden was fifth. Okay, I got the numbers kind of mixed up, but it's kind of the same in effect, right? In the history of the Democratic primary, nobody was ever top three. Nobody that was ever top three quit before Super Tuesday except for Pete. And nobody that was ever in fifth place was a favorite after Super Tuesday except for Joe Biden. Yeah. So take that what you will. Right, don't doubt her native queen. True. Our true native queen. She could have been our first Native American president, chat. The DNC is anti-Native American. Keep that in mind. I say all that to say, and at this point, I've burned my bridges with the DNC. They're never paying me the amount of money that these people are allegedly paid. But I say all that to say, this is how the DNC operates. The DNC does what the Republicans do in the primaries. They cheat. It's never about democracy. It's never about who gets the most votes, right? It's not. Fundamentally, it's not. Because as we can see, they don't even want democracy. The absolute last thing that democracy needs right now is a Democratic primary is a common, unfortunate, but extremely common liberal sentiment. They don't want democracy, right? They don't. And it sucks. It sucks. Because what are we supposed to do?